Have you ever found yourself lying awake at 3 a.m., tossing and turning in bed? Your mind replaying that comment someone made about you on a loop? Or perhaps you spent hours of your day thinking about what you could have said in an argument that happened weeks ago. If so, you're not alone. In a world that seems designed to hijack our attention and feed our insecurities, learning to emotionally disconnect from what doesn't matter isn't just a skill. It's a vital necessity for our mental health. What you'll discover today goes beyond simple advice. During our time together, I'll unlock specific codes in your mind, thought patterns that the ancient Stoics discovered more than 2,000 years ago and that modern scientists now confirm as powerful tools for mental health. By the end of this video, you won't be the same person you started watching. You'll have a new lens through which to view your worries and a set of practices that can fundamentally transform your relationship with the world. Stoicism is not a philosophy of apathy or denial. Rather, it is a deeply practical approach that teaches us to direct our emotional energy only toward what truly matters. It is about living with purpose, not impulse. It is about responding to the world, not just reacting to it. Today, we're going to explore 10 specific Stoic practices that will help you regain your emotional balance and inner peace. And I want you to be prepared, because some of these techniques may seem counterintuitive at first, but it's precisely this challenging of your assumptions that will bring about the transformation you seek. So, take a deep breath, let go of everything that is worrying you for a few moments, and let's start this journey together. Before we start, subscribe to the channel to strengthen our support network and continue producing videos with valuable lessons like this one. Okay? Topic 1. The power of value analysis. Imagine your mind as a house full of furniture. Some of it useful and beautiful, while others are just clutter that takes up space and collects dust. The first step to creating a more peaceful mental space is to learn to distinguish between what is real value and what is simply taking up emotional space. The Stoics developed a remarkably clear way of making this distinction. They separated everything into 3 categories: that which is intrinsic value, such as virtue, wisdom, equanimity; that which is preferable to have but non-essential, health, wealth, reputation; and that which is completely indifferent to our true well-being, the opinions of strangers, social comparisons, hypothetical worries. When you truly internalize this distinction, something extraordinary happens. Situations that once made you panic begin to lose their power over you. The person who cut you off in traffic, the co-worker who didn't respond to your email, the nasty comment on social media. All of these worries begin to reveal themselves for what they really are: distractions with no real value. Let's do an exercise right now. Grab a pen and paper, or open up Notepad on your phone. List 5 worries that have been occupying your mind lately. Now, next to each one, write honestly: does this have intrinsic value to my character and well-being? If the answer is no, put an asterisk. These are exactly the worries we need to learn to disconnect from. Remember, we're not talking about ignoring real responsibilities, but about recognizing how many of our daily anxieties are manufactured by external expectations and distorted perceptions of importance. This is the first code to unlock the ability to discern what truly deserves your emotional energy. Topic 2. The practice of cognitive distancing. Now that you've started to identify what truly has value and what doesn't, let's explore a powerful tool that the Stoics mastered: cognitive distancing. There's a crucial difference between having a thought and being your thought. When you think, "I'm a failure" after a mistake, you become one with that temporary idea. Cognitive detachment is the practice of observing your thoughts without identifying with them. It's like watching clouds pass by in the sky, instead of believing that you are the entire sky. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, wrote in his Meditations, "Today I have met people who are irritating, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, envious, and unsociable." But then he added, "But I myself have had all these faults. When I see these defects in others, I remember that I am just like them." This is a perfect example of cognitive distancing. Rather than reacting to rudeness as a personal attack, Marcus Aurelius viewed the behavior as a separate phenomenon, something to be observed with curiosity and compassion, not with emotional reactivity. You can practice this right now. When you feel a strong emotion coming up, anger, anxiety, shame, try naming it. "I'm noticing that I'm feeling anxious" instead of "I'm anxious." This small linguistic shift creates a vital space between you and the emotion. This technique is particularly powerful for those who struggle with social anxiety, chronic worry, or rumination. By creating distance between yourself and your thoughts, you begin to realize that you don't have to believe everything your mind produces. Thoughts are temporary mental events, not absolute truths. And when you master this skill, something remarkable happens. You gain the freedom to choose which thoughts to pay attention to. This is the second unlocked code, the ability to observe your own mind without being controlled by it. Topic 3, developing healthy indifference. As we progress on our journey, we come across an often misunderstood concept in Stoicism: indifference. Far from being a cold or disengaged stance toward life, Stoic indifference, or adiaphora, is a refined skill that allows us to navigate the world with emotional balance. Epictetus, who was born a slave and became one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, summed it up perfectly. Make good use of what is in your power and take the rest as it comes. This is the essence of healthy indifference, a deep understanding that there are things that are simply not in our control and therefore not worth our emotional investment. Stoic indifference doesn't mean not caring about anything. It means caring deeply about the right things, your character, your choices, your virtues, while maintaining a lighter relationship with everything else. Think about the opinions of others. How many times have you twisted yourself into knots trying to please people you barely know? How many decisions have you made based not on what you believe is right, but on what you imagine others will expect of you? Practicing Stoic indifference frees us from this invisible prison. Try this practice. The next time you feel the urge to check how many likes your post has received, or when you catch yourself mentally rehearsing how to impress someone, pause. Ask yourself, is this worry about my character and virtues, or just my image and ego? If it's the latter, practice letting it go. Imagine the relief of living without feeling like you have to win the approval of every person you meet. Imagine the freedom to express yourself authentically without constantly calculating the social impact of every word. This is a third unlocked code, the ability to care deeply about what is essential while developing a healthy indifference to what is peripheral. Topic 4, the distant observer exercise. As we continue our exploration of Stoic practices, we come across a particularly powerful technique for times of emotional turmoil: the detached observer exercise. This practice takes the cognitive detachment we've learned previously to a new level, offering an almost cosmic perspective on our concerns. Marcus Aurelius often advised himself to look down on his concerns. He wrote, "Think of the vastness of time and space. Realize that human life is but a point in infinity, and our influence still smaller." This technique doesn't diminish you or your problems. On the contrary, it contextualizes them. Imagine yourself rising above the current situation, as if you were observing from above. First, see yourself a few feet above, then from the top of a building, then from an airplane, then from space. And finally, imagine seeing your entire life, from birth to death, as a single continuous narrative. Suddenly, that heated argument at work, that snappy comeback you gave to a loved one, or that missed opportunity starts to seem a lot less catastrophic. Not because they don't matter, but because they're just a tiny thread in the vast tapestry of your life. This perspective is especially valuable for those dealing with trauma or fixations on past events. By training yourself to see painful events from a broader perspective, you begin to realize that even the deepest wounds are chapters, not the entire story of your life. Try this visualization when you feel consumed by worry. Close your eyes and imagine yourself floating above the situation, viewing it from afar. Notice how small your body seems from that distance. Notice how the situation that seems so important now is just a fleeting moment in the vast expanse of time. Breathe in that perspective. This is a fourth unlocked code, the ability to momentarily transcend the limitations of your immediate perspective and see your life in its broader context. Topic 5, building a hierarchy of concerns. As we progress on our journey, we realize that it's not enough to simply identify what's valuable and what's not. We need to organize our values into a coherent framework. This is where building a hierarchy of concerns based on Stoic principles comes in. The Stoics were masters of prioritization, not because they were calculating, but because they were crystal clear about what they considered most important in life. For them, Virtue, which consisted of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, was at the top of the hierarchy. Everything else was secondary or irrelevant. Thinking this way is revolutionary in a culture that constantly bombards us with messages about what we should care about. From the size of our house to the make of our car, from our social media metrics to where we stand in comparison to others. To build your own hierarchy of worries, start by dividing your current worries into 3 categories. Essentials, concerns related to your character, your virtues, your fundamental relationships, and your contribution to the world. Preferables, things that are nice to have, but whose absence does not compromise your value as a person, such as comfort, recognition, or certain conveniences. Expendable, concerns that honestly do not affect your true flourishing as a human being, such as comparative status, material possessions beyond what is necessary, or the good opinion of people whose values we do not respect. This hierarchy isn't just an intellectual exercise. It's a compass for daily navigation. When you find yourself facing difficult decisions or feeling overwhelmed, consulting can bring immediate clarity. For example, if you're deciding between spending time with a loved one who needs support or working overtime to buy something that's not essential, your hierarchy of values will clearly point you to the path that best serves what really matters. This is the 5th unlock code, the ability to organize your worries according to their true impact on your well-being, not according to external social pressures. Topic 6. Material detachment as a path to emotional freedom. As we delve deeper into Stoic practices, we come across a principle that goes directly against the grain of our consumerist culture: material detachment as a path to true emotional freedom. Seneca, one of the great Roman Stoics and one of the wealthiest men of his time, wrote, "It is best to be content with little, for little is enough." The irony of a man of immense wealth advocating simplicity was not lost on even his contemporaries. But Seneca regularly practiced periods of voluntary poverty, dressing in simple clothes, eating the barest of meals, sleeping in modest conditions, not out of masochism, but to train his mind not to fear loss. What the Stoics understood profoundly is that every material possession carries with it not only utility, but also an emotional weight. The fear of losing it, the anxiety to compare it to others, the work of maintaining it, the regret when it is damaged. This perspective is revolutionary in a world where we are constantly conditioned to believe that more is better, that the next purchase will finally bring us lasting satisfaction, that our identity is intimately tied to what we own. To put this Stoic principle into practice, try this exercise in voluntary deprivation. Choose something you consider a daily necessity. It could be your smartphone, coffee, social media, or any other habitual comfort. Abstain from it for a set period of time, perhaps a day or a week. Pay close attention to your reactions. Do you feel anxious, irritable, a sense of deprivation? These are the invisible strings that bind you emotionally to this possession or habit. Over time, you will probably notice that the intensity of these reactions diminishes, revealing that what you considered a need was actually just a nice to have. This exercise is not meant to make you ascetic or self-denying. The goal is simply to gain clarity about where the real usefulness of things ends and where our emotional attachment to them begins. This is the 6th unlock code, the ability to enjoy things without feeling that your happiness depends on them, to use them without being used by them. Topic 7. Information filtering. In our hyper-connected world, the next frontier of Stoic self-mastery is undoubtedly the ability to filter the tsunami of information that hits us daily. How would Stoics approach a world where catastrophic news, extreme opinions, and social comparisons are just a click away? Epictetus offers valuable guidance when he says, "Do not be carried away by the intensity of the impression, but say, 'Impression, wait for me a little while. Let me see what you are and what you are about.'" This conscious pause between stimulus and response is precisely what we need to cultivate in the age of instant information. The Stoics wouldn't have an endless news feed, but they would intuitively understand its dangers. They would advise us to create what we might call an information diet, an intentional consumption of information based not on novelty or shock, but on genuine relevance to our virtuous lives. This practice of Stoic information filtering involves asking before consuming any content, does this content contribute to my wisdom, courage, temperance, or sense of justice? Does this information affect matters over which I have real influence? Does this content bring me closer to or further away from the people and values I consider essential? Try this practice. Before you open your usual social media or news sites, set a clear purpose for that session. Set a time limit. Most importantly, practice what modern psychologists call selective attention, the ability to consciously direct your focus only to what serves your flourishing as a human being. You can also try regular periods of information fasting, perhaps one day a week without news or social media. Many people report that after the initial anxiety of missing out on something important comes a surprising sense of mental clarity and return to the present. This is the seventh unlock code, the ability to consume information intentionally and selectively rather than being consumed by the endless torrent of available stimuli. Topic 8. Values-focused meditation. As we approach the culmination of our Stoic journey, we come to a profoundly transformative practice, values-focused meditation. This is not just any meditation, but a specifically Stoic way of training the mind to recognize and strengthen what truly matters. The Stoics practice two main types of meditation: premeditatio matutina, morning contemplation, and evening examination. In the morning, they reflected on the challenges they might face during the day and how they would respond to them virtuously. In the evening, they reviewed their actions, celebrating their successes and learning from their failures. This dual practice created a powerful cycle of intentional preparation and honest reflection, a cycle that continually strengthens our connection to our deepest values. The modern version of the Stoic meditation can be practiced like this. Take 5 minutes in the morning before you check your phone or dive into the day's responsibilities. Sit quietly and ask yourself, what is truly important to me today? What qualities do I want to express? What challenges might I face? And how can I respond to them in a way that aligns with my values? Visualize yourself navigating your day with equanimity, responding to obstacles not with frustration, but with creativity and resilience. Imagine treating people not according to how they treat you, but according to your own standards of excellence. At night, before going to sleep, take another 5 minutes to ask yourself, where was I true to my values today? Where did I stray from them? What can I learn from this? How can I improve tomorrow? This practice is not about self-punishment, but self-knowledge. It is a sacred space where you return to your core values, regardless of the distractions and demands of the world. Over time, you'll notice that this simple Stoic meditation routine begins to create a solid foundation beneath your feet. Situations that once shook you to your core begin to feel more manageable. Thoughts that once dominated your mind begin to lose their urgency. This is the 8th unlock code, the ability to keep your values at the center of your consciousness, even in the midst of life storms. Topic 9. The practice of love of destiny, amor fati. As we approach the apex of our Stoic journey, we reach one of the most profound and transformative principles, amor fati, or love of fate. This concept, popularized by the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, but deeply rooted in Stoic thought, represents a radical acceptance and even loving embrace of whatever life throws at us. Epictetus expressed this beautifully when he said, "Do not seek to make events happen as you wish, but will events as they happen, and your life will have a peaceful course." Note that amor fati is not passive resignation or defeatist submission. It is an active and radical stance of acceptance of what is beyond our control, combined with determination to work creatively within the circumstances we are given. It is the deep understanding that internally resisting what has already happened only multiplies our suffering. For the Stoics, every obstacle contains within the seed of an opportunity, but that seed only germinates in the soil of amor fati. When you bitterly resist an unchanging reality, whether it's a chronic illness, an irreparable loss, or a change in circumstances, you expend energy precisely where it cannot bear fruit. Practice amor fati like this. Identify a situation in your life that you've been emotionally resisting, something that happened that you wish could have been different. Now, do the counterintuitive exercise of actively looking for ways that the situation, exactly as it happened, can serve your growth or offer unexpected opportunities. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes a way." This is the essence of amor fati, the ability to transform obstacles into stepping stones, to find in the very fabric of adversity the threads with which we weave our resilience. Many people with fragile mental health find that Amor Fati is particularly liberating when applied to past events. Fully accepting what cannot be changed frees up an extraordinary amount of psychic energy previously devoted to futile resistance. This is a ninth unlock code, the ability to not only accept but lovingly embrace what life brings, thus transforming the very fabric of experience. Topic 10. Daily exercises for emotional discipline. We've reached the final stage of our Stoic journey, where all the practices and principles we've explored come to fruition in a daily routine to strengthen your emotional discipline. Just like a muscle that grows with consistent exercise, our ability to emotionally disconnect from what doesn't matter requires regular practice. The Stoics were extremely practical in this regard. They understood that philosophy was not just an intellectual exercise, but a way of life to be cultivated daily. As Musonius Rufus, Epictetus' teacher, wrote, "Just as physicians have their medicines always at hand to treat emergencies, so we must have our doctrines readily available to treat the emergencies of life." Here's a 7-day plan to incorporate the techniques we've learned into habits. Day 1, value analysis. Take 10 minutes to identify and question a concern that have been occupying your mind. Apply the Stoic filter. Is this related to my virtue and character, or just preferences and indifferences? Day 2, cognitive distancing. Practice naming your thoughts and emotions throughout the day. I'm noticing that I'm thinking that, instead of merging with them. Day 3, healthy indifference. Identify a situation where you seek external validation and consciously practice not caring about other people's opinions in that specific context. Day 4, distant observer. Take 5 minutes to view a current issue from multiple distances, from close-up to cosmic perspective. Day 5, hierarchy of concerns. Review your current priorities and rearrange them according to the Stoic values of virtue and excellence of character. Day 6, material detachment. Practice a day of voluntary simplicity, abstaining from habitual comfort or luxury. Day 7, information filtering. Implement a 24-hour media fast, focusing only on essential and mind-nourishing information. Throughout this week, also incorporate the practices of values-focused meditation, morning and evening, and apply Amor Fati to each obstacle that arises. The key here is not perfection, but persistence. As an athlete who trains regularly, you are building emotional muscles that will, over time, automatically respond with greater resilience and calmness. Remember the words of Epictetus. First tell yourself what you want to be, then do what you must do. You are on the path to becoming someone who has mastery over your emotional reactions, free from the burden of unnecessary worries. This is a 10th and final code unlocked. The understanding that emotional freedom is not a state to be achieved, but a practice to be cultivated daily. We have reached the end of our Stoic journey, but we are really only at the beginning of a new way of living. The path we have traveled together, from value analysis to Amor Fati, from cognitive detachment to daily emotional discipline, is not just a set of techniques, but an invitation to a life of greater clarity, purpose, and tranquility. The Stoic practices we've explored aren't meant to make you a callous or robotic person. Rather, they free up your ability to feel deeply about what really matters, without being swept along by every passing emotional breeze. They're tools for loving more fully, working more meaningfully, and living more authentically, precisely because you're not scattering your emotional energy in 1,000 directions. Remember, emotionally disconnecting from what doesn't matter doesn't mean diminishing your humanity or empathy. It means directing that humanity and empathy to where they can truly flourish. In the virtues you cultivate, the relationships you nurture, the contributions you make to the world. As promised at the beginning, the codes we unlock together have the potential to fundamentally transform your relationship with life. The ability to discern the real value of things, to observe your thoughts without being controlled by them, to care deeply about the essential while developing a healthy indifference to the peripheral. These aren't just abstract philosophical ideas. They're practical tools for navigating a world that often seems designed to heighten our anxieties and exploit our insecurities. I invite you to share your journey with me in the comments. Which of these practices resonated most strongly with you? What challenges did you encounter in implementing them? What transformations have you already begun to notice? And remember the words of Marcus Aurelius, You have power over your mind, not over external events. Realize this, and you'll find strength. Stoic practice is exactly that. The patient, persistent cultivation of your power over your own mind, a power that no one can take away from you. Thank you for embarking on this journey of transformation. Until the next video, where we will continue exploring the Stoic tools for a life of greater wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Disconnecting emotionally from what doesn't matter isn't about becoming cold or indifferent. It's about becoming free. Free from the mental bonds that make us react to every little provocation, every empty criticism, every expectation that was never ours. True emotional freedom comes when we stop fighting against everything that is beyond our control and start cultivating the art of full acceptance. In Stoic philosophy, there is a concept called prosoke. Loosely translated, it means constant attention or mindfulness. But more than that, prosoke is an active way of living. It is a daily exercise of vigilance over oneself, over one's own judgments, emotions, and reactions. It's not just about noticing what we feel. It's about understanding whether what we feel is grounded, has value, has real importance. It's about asking honestly, is this worth my energy? Many people confuse acceptance with passivity. But acceptance is not about surrendering. It's about ceasing to resist the inevitable. It's about choosing where it's worth fighting for and where it's wiser to let go. When you accept that certain things are simply the way they are, you stop wasting time trying to change them. You reclaim time. You reclaim presence. You reclaim peace. Disconnecting emotionally from what doesn't matter requires this kind of clarity, because most of our emotional pain doesn't come from major tragedies. It comes from small distractions, people who disappoint us, comments that irritate us, failures that hurt our ego, promises that weren't kept. And with each of these things, we give away a little bit of our peace, a little bit of our energy, a little bit of our day. That's where the practice of prosoke comes in. It teaches us to calmly observe what's happening inside us and to constantly triage. Does it matter? Is it essential? Does it depend on me? If the answer is no, the emotion may arise, but it doesn't settle. It doesn't take up residence. Prosoke invites us to live with intention, to not react automatically, to not go with the flow of collective anxiety. And more than that, it teaches us that acceptance is not about closing our eyes, but about opening our eyes to what really matters. You see, fully accepting that something is out of your control is one of the most powerful acts you can do, not because you are giving up, but because you are choosing not to waste energy on it. It is an active choice. It is an intelligent choice. But be careful. This does not mean suppressing emotions. It means acknowledging them without feeding them. It means saying, yes, this bothered me, but I don't need to carry it around with me. The difference is between feeling and clinging. You can feel anger without becoming an angry person. You can feel sadness without drowning in it. You can feel frustration and still maintain your dignity. Full acceptance is not insensitivity. It is emotional maturity. It is looking at what hurts and instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Asking, what can I learn from this? And what can I let go of? It's about making room for what really matters. Your inner peace, your mental clarity, your values. Imagine a backpack on your back. Every time you emotionally hold on to something irrelevant, a criticism, a rejection, a comparison, you add weight to that backpack. At first, it seems like a small thing. But over time, you wonder why you're so tired, so reactive, so anxious. It's because you're carrying something that doesn't need to be carried. Letting go is lightness, and only those who accept it let go. Full acceptance reminds us that many things only hurt because we insist on holding on, because we still think that it should be different, that it's not fair, that they should understand. But not everything will be as you expect, and that's okay. The world won't align with your wishes, but you can align with reality, with awareness, with lightness, and with presence. And here's the most beautiful part. When you learn to emotionally disconnect from what doesn't matter, you create space to deeply connect with what really matters, with your values, with the people who truly love you, with the projects that feed your soul, with the present time, which is the only time you really have. Prosoke, in this sense, is a constant reminder. Be aware of what you are feeding inside of you. Be aware of what you are letting in. Be aware of what you are giving importance to. Because at the end of the day, life is too short to hold on to everything. You are not obligated to react to everything that provokes you. You are not obligated to carry everything you have felt. You are not obligated to care about everything that appears. You can choose. And this choice is called awareness. This choice is called ProSoak. This choice is called freedom. If you liked the video, subscribe to our channel to strengthen our support network. Turn on notifications to receive a new video every week, and don't forget to like this video. Thank you and see you next time.